Good morning. Happy Monday, July 19th, 2021. I hope this video finds you well. I know, Gun, you're inconsistent with the videos. It's big. Y'all don't understand how busy I am outside of the YouTube. And I say it every time if you do catch it, you have to prioritize stuff when you get really busy. And unfortunately, you guys might see, check back later today, this video might get 80 to 100 views. And you can see why maybe it's not the most important thing on the priority list. But when I have time, I like to do the videos because it's part of my process. Every day I'm breaking down the slate and talking through it actually helps me out. So I don't mind doing it when I have time. And I got time today. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. My weekend went better than anticipated. Coming off the All-Star break, Yankees, COVID outbreak. We lose Aaron Judge. We lose Giovanni Urshela. Jonathan Loaizica. Nestor Cortez Jr. These are some of our better players. Luke Voigt on the IL. We still don't have Kluber. We still don't have Severino. Chapman's broken, and Kyle Higashioka, who that's a little bit more notable than you might think. He's Garrett Cole's caddy. We lose him, so I'm just thinking, man, Red Sox own us. There's no way this is going to be a good weekend. It actually turned out to be a great weekend. Next man up, slew of injuries, but to get it done, take 2 of 3 against the Red Sox. So now the Yankees hanging on to a thread as we get to the trade deadline, and a lot of question marks on whether or not the Yankees are going to buy or sell. I don't think they have a ton to sell at the prices that we have, but it's going to be a buyer's market, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So hopefully the Yankees can keep it up there off today, but many teams not off today, and that's what we're here to talk about. Every game on the slate tonight: Fanduel, DraftKings, Yahoo PrizePicks, wherever you play. And that last one is an important one because PrizePicks is one of the sponsors, I guess, of the channel, of my brand, what I do. And they are sponsoring everything, though. You guys see them a lot on everywhere. So if you somehow, for some reason, have not created a PrizePicks account yet, if you sign up and use code GUNDACKER, they'll match your initial deposit up to $100. So $20 turns into $40, so on and so forth. And they offer a very, very unique, different approach to reward your DFS. And a lot of people at first thought it was just like a parlay sportsbook site. It's actually a little bit more than that because they offer over-unders on fantasy points. So you can reward your DFS research on PrizePicks, and I love to do that. What I do like to sniff out for baseball is the pitcher strikeout props. I do like those. They're not up yet, and also I like the hitter fantasy score. So some people like the 1.5 hits plus walks, or the runs and RBIs, all that stuff. I kind of like the fantasy score. So whenever I see somebody popping on the old bomb detector, if they have like a 5 or 6 score on PrizePicks, I'll dabble with the over on that rather than trying to sweat them getting on base 2 times. So yeah, that's what I like to check out. So if you guys want to check that out, go for it. They have more than just baseball. They got NBA, soccer, esports, golf, CSGO, NFL's coming. And speaking of NFL being on the way, right now in the it feels longer than it is stretched before NFL's back. VIP passes are discounted. Week pass at Run DFS just $20, usually 30-day passes $55. I must have forgot to activate the 2-week pass when the All-Star break came back. But if you guys were a subscriber, maybe the All-Star to All-Star break package or the half-year package, if you guys want to lock in for the rest of the year now, the rest of baseball, almost all of football, all the way to January 1st, and a good chunk of basketball, they're expecting that to come back in mid-October. You guys can lock that in now for just $400, and that's going to be all my spreadsheets, daily Discord chats, the pre-log voice chats, all that stuff. So the month pass is usually $100. This is kind of jacked up, but yeah, month pass usually $100, and that'll go back up September 1, I believe. So go take advantage of that while you can. Get some early bird discounts and take advantage of it, man. Lots of baseball tonight, so let's kind of jump into it. I believe we have 11 games, so we'll try and breeze through as fast as possible, touch on the important stuff. This deep into a season, we know a lot of these pitchers. We know what to expect. We know these teams, so we don't need to overanalyze pitchers, but when it's pertinent, we'll do it. Also want to point out, we will be using the RunDFS.com or the Gundacker Gaming VIP MLB spreadsheet. This may look a little bit different than the last time you've seen it. We did recode it a month or two ago. I put up some beta versions on Twitter so people could test it out, give me feedback, and test the coding. And it's pretty doggone solid. So we already had a really strong product in the MLB spreadsheet, made it even stronger, and I still have a couple ideas I want to work on, like catcher, stolen base stuff, but it's not that important. But I do think the stuff that we have added, the K Factory being the biggest addition, which is kind of a model to predict strikeouts based on per 10 pitch bases, and then of course we have the pitch report, all that good stuff, and we kind of revamped the index portal itself, did the columns to show stats that I've leaned on more lately versus back then. So I think one of the things I did was I replaced slugging with ISO and OPS, all that good stuff. So let's get into it, man. Marlins at the Nationals, first game on the docket. The Nats are going to throw John Lester. Marlins looking like Nick the Anvil Nider to 4K DK min price special. Maybe subject to change. I don't think he's a full stretched out guy. 65, 78 pitches last couple appearances. He only has one appearance since 526. He got to 65. So maybe the plan is for him to be, I guess he is a starter. If he gets to 75, 80 pitches at 4K, there might be some potential value there, right? You'd kind of take 3x, 4x at 4K if that helps you fill out a big bopper lineup. But I don't think early on I'm going to sacrifice skill on an 11-game slate. That would be a decision I would be a little bit more keen on making on a bigger slate. His metrics, not pretty. 20 innings of sample size so far this season, a 6.89 expected ERA, a 1.65 whip, a 6.22 Sierra. The swing and strike rate, really bad, 6.7%. So he's a pure contact pitcher. And even my cat Dante, he's like, nope, don't play him. 1.74 home run per nine to righties this year. That's picking up where he left off last year. That's a high fly ball rate. So sample size pretty small. So I don't want to get over committed to the sample size we do have. Maybe I run it to against his minor league numbers over on MLB.com and to see if he struggled with righties there, to see if that's just a little taste of what we might expect. So splits, regular season, minors, righties. We've got 18.2 innings of samples, or 11 innings of sample size against righties. No homers, 3 homers to lefties, 257 average. So in the minors, he's actually a ground ball pitcher to righties. So maybe due for some regress. He's still a pure contact pitcher to righties, just 4 strikeouts in those 11 innings. So not good. The Marlins bullpen is a little bit better than publicly perceived, actually above average in just about every category. Maybe it's park conducive that they're almost 50 points better in home run per 9+. But I do think the Nationals could be an interesting spot, just 4 implied run total here. Is this is there anything froggy about this game? It's kind of a low total for the Nats, so I was wondering if that might be part 2 of a doubleheader, but it doesn't look like it. So John Lester, on the other hand, here's a guy that I know with sample size kind of stinks against righties. 5.29 xFIP last year to righties, 5.91 xFIP this year, 60 plus innings of sample size on both sides of that. Home run per 9, almost a cumulative 2. And he's just a really contact-driven left-handed pitcher. And I actually think because of that, I do like some Marlins bats here. Marlins right now listed as a slight favorite. I think there's some sneaky power here. Miguel Rojas, if he cracks the lineup and if he leads off like he's currently projected to do, might have some value on Fanduel at 2,700. Batting .344 against lefties in the last 2 years, a .905 OPS, and striking out less than 8%. So tailor-made matchup for him. You guys already know Adam Duvall smacks lefties with a lot of power. Does come with a 28% K rate, but we can neutralize that with Lester's inability to get those strikeouts. So he will probably be rated pretty high in the bomb detector. Looks like he does have an over 4 rating. Garrett Cooper, Jesus Aguilar, and Starling Marte. So Starling Marte is going to be one of those names you need to watch going into this stretch before the trade deadline. Think names like Marte, Anthony Rizzo, guys like that. Craig Kimbrell, keep an eye on that. Kimbrell's a little less a little less relevant for DFS players, but maybe something to watch for sports bettors. But until we get really into that final hour, I'm not going to over-exaggerate the importance of watching some of these hug-watch guys that might get traded. But the point being, I kind of like the Marlins against John Lester. I think there's plenty of upside. Lester, of course, will also allow plenty of stolen bases. Nationals have allowed a high amount of stolen bases. Lester allows a lot of power. I don't hate this spot for the Marlins, so add the Marlins to my list of teams that I might be interested in today. And I think both sides of this game. Right now, this game has a really low total. So I need to, I literally just to like make me feel better about this game not being a 7-inning like double header. Like I don't know. I don't understand why this game is the total so low. I feel like there's enough holes at pitcher that either team should project a little bit better than they are. Trey Turner, Soto, I just don't. The Nats look pretty normal. Yeah, no, the only doubleheader today is the Twins and White Sox. So maybe that's something to watch. If maybe that total goes up throughout the day. I'm kind of digging the over from where I'm standing now. If the over's at 8, I'd take a shot at that. Why not? Let's move on to the next game here. Blue Jays hosting the Red Sox. Blue Jays are 11 days from returning to the Rogers Center. I think July 30th is the special date. Knock on wood, there's a lot of stirring going on for them to go back to the Rogers Center, but in the meantime they are bopping teams. Red Sox coming off a frustrating series loss against the Yankees. Game 2 of that series got rained out, really shortened game. A lot of controversial stuff happening there, and last night they just got next man up by some young hungry scrappers, and the Blue Jays are right there with the Yankees looking up at the Rays and the Red Sox. So this is a lot of important baseball going on here, because the Red Sox could potentially fall backwards, the Rays could take first place, the Blue Jays could gain ground, maybe even get close to knocking on the door of jumping the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays, much like the Yankees, part of that wild card race. The Blue Jays a little bit closer right now. So this is very important baseball, even though we have about half a season left. On the bump, Nick Pivetta for the Red Sox, Ross Stripling for the Blue Jays. Implied run total for the Sox 5, Blue Jays 5.6. They're a minus 126 favorite right now. Because of that, I'm likely not interested in either pitcher here. I guess in the wide range of outcomes, there is a world where Pivetta's 27% K rate to righties, 28% K rate to lefties could thrive, and at 7-9 get him in a percentile finish of 20 plus DraftKings points, which would be very acceptable at that price point. Ross Stripling a little less enthusiastic to fire him up. His righty splits are very alarming, and he has allowed a lot of power to both sides of the plate. Maybe park conducive, but he's only really getting his strikeouts against lefties. Lefties 29% K rate, 192 average allowed, but against righties 22%. Last year was at 13%. The swinging strike rate's at 10%, and the called strike rate just at 17%. So not a lot to be hopeful of from Ross Stripling. So I guess that would be more likely to look at the percentile that Pivetta gets me 20 plus, but I think either pitcher right now would be an extreme stretch to put in your lineup, and both offenses are teams that I want to go after. Red Sox probably want to get right after yesterday, and Blue Jays are trying to stay hot and keep it going forward. So full stack on both sides of this. Red Sox bullpen also had some hiccups yesterday. Guys that are normally good, not great. Brandon Workman walked a couple in trying to pick up the reliever in front of him, who's also normally good. So it's a get right spot all the way through for the Red Sox team. Blue Jays, stack wise here, Price is 58 on Semin, 55 on Bo Bichette, Vladdy Jr. 63, but past them it's a bunch of sub 5Kers. George Springer in the cleanup spot potentially, 3,700 on Fanduel. A couple names that kind of stand out here. Pivetta does allow power to both sides of the plate, and vice versa. So I'm not really gonna spend too much time saying, hey, you could play JD Martinez today, but hey, you could play JD Martinez today. You could stack this game up, and I think at this stage, I'd just be a little bit concerned on what the ownerships might land at. Looking ahead at the rest of the slate, we do not have a Coors Field game, right? We don't have a ton of obscene total games. Maybe the Cincinnati Reds game draws some interest. But outside of that, I could see this game garnering a ton of interest for their offenses. And it looks like it might be the highest total from where I'm standing now. So because of that, I got to assume or presume that's going to have the highest ownership. But maybe the prices kind of dial it down just a little bit. Red Sox seem pretty affordable on FanDuel, 2,800 for Alex Verdugo. Xander Bogaerts and JD, okay, 4K, that's up there. Devers 3,800, Renfroe 3,300. The young kid Duran 2,200, still just a couple hundred above min price. Got a lot of speed, a lot of player comps to like Jacoby Ellsbury. So I think very obtainable. And if this ends up being one of those slates where there's not 10, 11K pitching, and there's not, maybe the 5, 6K price tags don't really shake the foundation too much, right? Looking at the top of this list here, Kevin Gausman, highest priced pitcher today, 10K on DraftKings, going against the Dodgers, right? No warm and fuzzies in that one. 2 games against the Dodgers, averaging 19 DKP, so like you could live without that. Yu Darvish, a couple of rough starts lately, -6, 17, 21, 9,200. Like you want this number, right? The 35, ironically, against the Dodgers. But he has a wide range of outcomes to where you don't get the warm and fuzzies. You don't feel that comfortable with taking the range of outcomes there. I think Kyle Gibson, it's 6:41 in the morning. I don't know ownership projections or anything like that. I think Kyle Gibson against the Detroit Tigers, it's just going to be like best of the worst, right? That seems like a spot where the Tigers really, really stink. They allow a lot of big games. Kyle Gibson could deliver a solid 12 DKP in his last start. But anyway, the whole point of me kind of foreshadowing pitching there is because of the lack of high-priced pitching to eat some salary, like we're usually prioritizing those 10, 11K guys, maybe that makes these Blue Jays bats and these Red Sox bats a little bit more trendy because I think a lot of the field will just settle for mid-tier pitching. So keep an eye on this game in terms of ownership, but I think right now it's probably going to be where people want to start, and we'll see if they finish there. Moving on to the next game, the Orioles at the Rays. I got Spencer Watkins starting for the Orioles and Ryan Yarbrough for the Rays. Watkins, just 10 innings of sample size here. Let's see if we can't dig into his numbers a little bit. Last appearance was 7-11. Got himself a slushy, throwing 83 pitches, 4 hits allowed and 4.1, 5 fly balls to no ground balls, but ironically induced 8 ground balls the appearance before that against the Blue Jays. So it looks like his metrics are kind of all over the place in his big league sample. It does look like he's walking people a little bit more than you would want. 13.8% against righties, 16.7% against lefties. But just 10 innings of sample size is not enough for me to rely on as, I don't want to say facts, but of stuff that I might expect. So I do want to spend some time to go check out his minor league stuff. I probably don't ever get to wanting to pitch him, but just kind of want to know what I might expect his weaknesses to be if I wanted to target some Rays bats. Because right now the Rays 5.2 implied run total. That's top 4 on the slate right now, so I do think that creates some validity in playing them. 19 innings against lefties in the minors this season. Spencer Watkins allowed just a 136 average, 17 strikeouts, a 0.79 whip, so that walk problem might be a little bit of an outlier if he can regress to the mean there. 3 homers in 19 innings, however, is a little bit of a problem. You like to see about 1 per 9, 1 per 10. So 3 and 19 is something to watch out for. 3 homers in 13 innings to righties. In those 13 innings, allowing 13.2 innings, allowing 16 hits and 10 strikeouts. So looking at these numbers, again, not a ton of sample size, but it does look like he is a little bit more effective against lefties than righties. 1.54 whip in the minors this year against righties, with less than a strikeout per inning, more of a fly ball pitcher, and giving up a lot of power. So the power has been there against both sides of the plate in limited sample size in the minors, but in both the minors and the majors, the weakness against righties has been prevalent. A 10.3% K rate to righties in the majors. So right now, the projected Rays lineup actually comes out pretty lefty heavy. We wonder if they do their due diligence. I'm sure Cash and the crew will. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. Other than Zunino and Randy Arozarena, I can't think of. I guess maybe Brett Phillips is on the. Is Brett Phillips even he might even be a lefty too. They are really lefty heavy. Also, he might be injured. Brett Phillips. He bats lefty. No, I can't think of any righties other than those two and some switchies. So be curious to see how that plays out. But either way, there is potential for power allowed to lefties. And Orioles are not great. Their bullpen is not great. So I could get behind some Rays here. Still a pitcher's park at best. And we know Cash can play with this lineup as we go. One thing I would probably point out is the prices for the Rays on Fanduel just kind of scream at me that they might be too low. Wander Franco, I know his major league campaign so far has been kind of underwhelming as a whole, but this is still the number 1 prospect in baseball. So if he's going to be 500 above min price on Fanduel, that's going to be some salary relief to maybe get us those Red Sox and Blue Jays bats. And I do think it's a little bit too cheap, especially if he's going to have a top 3 spot in the lineup, but going against a team like the Orioles that have really been beat up by pitching or at their pitching positions throughout the bullpen. So give me a little bit of the Rays here, but I'd be far-fetched to really lean into who. I guess the regulars, Brandon Lau, Austin Meadows, Arozarena profile as well. And I guess if we really, really, really want to zero in on his righty splits and really make a big deal out of this stuff in the minors, think about this: 13.2 innings of sample size against righties in the minors, just 10 strikeouts with 3 homers allowed, and then we cross-reference that to his major league stuff, a 10% K rate, and still allowing a ton of power. Dude, he's like a Mike Zunino dream, right? Zunino strikes out almost 40% of the time, but if you can neutralize that, contact guy struggles with righties. Not a lot of people have the power like Mike Zunino, so 2,500 on Fanduel would make him extremely contrarian in thought, just because people rarely play catchers, but they would be even less inclined to play 40% strikeout catcher. So I might dig into that. So give me a little bit of Rays here. I'm not going to get behind Spencer Watkins. The Orioles at one point were really, really good against lefties. If you judge by the WRC plus metric, they've kind of backed up a little bit. I'm looking at 109 right now. Ryan Yarbrough, a lefty, 8,600 on DraftKings. Because of the pitcher's park, because of the fact that it is the Orioles, I could see the field maybe get a little bit behind Yarbrough as a play at 8,600. Kind of live in the range of outcomes of like 15 to 25. 15, 21, 12.7 last couple games. Has faced the Orioles twice this season, got you 14.6. So I don't think he's a crazy play. 23 last time. He would be in the pool for me. I think at pitching today, I'm not going to have a lot of high confidence tier 1 type of guys. It's just really going to be playing ranges of outcomes and kind of mixing them in to preferred stacks and hoping, we land on the nuts, huh? So I'll get to a little bit of him. If I want to pick on him, though, he definitely has some leaks against righties. But that's been a lot of righties on the road. So far this season, 162 overall home run per 9 allowed, 261 average, just a 17.7% K rate. But at home, a 0.81 overall home run per 9. So Tropicana helping him out a little bit. We want to pick on him. Trey Mancini profile is the best to me. 274 ISO in the last 2 years against lefties, 911 OPS. And then maybe guys like Austin Hayes, Ryan Mountcastle make the cut as well. But not something I'm going out of my way to get, but I do think those guys are very much viable to check off to be active in the optimizer. Moving on, game number 3, I believe. The Cincinnati Reds hosting the Mets. Mets have been part of some weird baseball lately. That Pirates game, was it yesterday? Got really, really weird after the first inning. They ended up winning that game after losing the game before to a walk-off grand slam. It was tough. Jared Eichhoff on the bump. He'll be up against Vladimir Gutierrez. Mets implied run total 5.1, Reds 5.5. And we're in the Great American Ballpark, one of the best parks in baseball to go out there and hunt home runs. They are 28 points above league average, and these are two pitchers that could really feed into that fact. Eichhoff, 5K on DraftKings. I'm not going to play him in your lineup. 10% K rate so far against righties, just 12.2 innings of sample size, 10.3% K rate to lefties. He's been a pure contact guy, 7.5%. Maybe like these type of numbers, you don't last in the bigs for long, so hopefully positive regression goes this way. But the Mets bullpen has been below average. They're coming off a wonky weekend. It's a good spot for the Reds to put up some crooked numbers on the board. So I'm not going to play any Eichhoff here. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to go check out the Mets bullpen usage yesterday. So we're going to use the bullpen usage tab in the RunDFS.com MLB VIP spreadsheet. And it looks like yesterday they tapped into Edwin Diaz a little bit. 24 pitches, 26 pitches on Seth Lugo. So I actually didn't tax it as much as maybe I thought they would. Familia and Castro on Saturday. So you might see some Aaron Loop today. He threw 3 pitches yesterday. Maybe some Miguel Castro. Trying to think who might play some long man. Yeah. So because of that, you can give me both offenses here, right? So if I like the Red Sox, I like the Blue Jays. I also like stacking the ballpark that is Great American Ballpark. Mets do have some boppers and some power that can really shine in this park. Think about games at Citi Field. There's a lot of fly balls that could be homers in Great American Ballpark. And against Vladimir Gutierrez, I can get behind that. So far, his power has really shined to righties in 50 innings of sample size. A 42.4% hard contact rate to righties, a 163 home run per 9, and a 260 average, sub 20% K rate. So Peter Alonso, who has seen some time in the 2 spot, looking really, really tasty here. 3,800 on Fanduel. 6K on DraftKings, got to go up there and get them, but I think there should be some money left over today. And Jeff McNeil, the disrespect of McNeil's price, Fanduel, 2,600. Opportunity for that's a little bit too low. Not a guy I play for power, but I think he has more power than perception might perceptually perceived from the Department of Redundancy Department. JD Davis, also somebody I think is a little bit too cheap. He has power to go big on Gutierrez. And I know Gutierrez's numbers against lefties look a little bit better in terms of preventing power, but he's still a lot of fly balls. And the Reds bullpen can suffer the consequences early if they got to dip in, 4th, 5th, or 6th inning. So there's really not any Mets that are off limits for me here today. But I really look on this projected lineup. You can sell me on everyone. 1 through 7 stand out the most, but JD Davis and Peter Alonso, they're going to project the best for homers. Matter of fact, Alonso has a 4.29 rating in the bomb detector. JD Davis at 4.27. This is reminiscent of the other day where both of them had really, really high ratings against I think it was a Pirates pitcher. And Alonso had a really loud fly out, like a man's fly ball out. And then JD Davis got into one. So today on the bomb detector, if we look at pitchers with more than 5 innings of sample size, and that's what IKOF has, Gallo's up there, and Peter Alonso is up there. So Peter Alonso does crack the top 3. He would be third if you took out the Cincinnati Reds lefties because of IKOF's 5.1 innings of sample size against lefties. Alonso would be third in qualifying innings pitched. So looking like a really good spot for Peter Alonso. And then just to flex the pitch report here, because I notice I don't use the pitch report a lot when I'm trying to break down these games, but I think it is at least a solid tool for some of you guys that do have access to the spreadsheet, or you've been curious as to what else the spreadsheet offers. If we click on that pitch report, what this tab will do is it's going to compare the pitchers versus the projected lineup today, and it's going to tell us the pitches that the pitcher throws, the average velocity of each pitch, and it'll grade the pitch on a linear scale, 0 being league average, above 0 is the how positive plus pitch it is, and how and below 0 is how negative. So Vladimir Gutierrez, 46.6% usage on the fastball, 93 miles an hour average exit velocity. That's a changeup for some guys these days. And then backs it up with a slider. The slider's a plus pitch. The curveball's a plus pitch for him. That fastball, not so much. So Jeff McNeil will look to get ahead on that fastball. But Jeff McNeil also profiles really well against the slider. 1.5 grade on the pitch report. So Peter Alonso. Did I say Jeff McNeil? Peter Alonso grades really well on that. So I like Peter Alonso here. I think he's going to project pretty well for a homer today. And heck, I mean, he's coming off a hot week. Last week he hit almost 40, 50 homers, right? So that's stupid. That's a joke. Don't look that up. Rangers at the Tigers. Next game on the docket. Kyle Gibson taking on Casey Mize. Gibson, 9K. I think, like I said, I think he could end up being a little bit trendy just because the Tigers are the why not pitch against them team, especially with righties. So you look at their team splits on the season, 26.7% K rate. Overall as a team, just a 151 ISO and 89 WRC plus. That's what you want. That's a pretty weak performance against righties. Akil Baddoo has been catching some leadoff duties lately. If he leads off, I don't mind looking at him, but it's not something I'm excited about. I can do without Tigers if I had to. But the decision, I think, is do we get down with some Kyle Gibson? And I think the question mark would be, one, do we think this Tigers will have enough righties in it to justify it? Because his numbers against lefties not great, right? 4.25 xFIP against lefties so far this season, 18.5% K rate. And is his home road splits worth grading out high here? Because the metrics are kind of telling us that Kyle Gibson is pretty lucky. A 2.29 ERA versus a 4.16 Sierra, a 3.52 expected ERA, which is fine, and a 1.07 WHIP, which is excellent. But the Sierra and the expected ERA being a little bit higher than the ERA and the xFIP being that high to lefties, I'm actually I'm kind of sad the Tigers aren't more fun because I think that could be a fun stack if Gibson's ownership got a little too high here. And then, like I said, I kind of want to see if Gibson's getting a little bit more positive results in home cooking, right? When Globe Life closes their roof in Arlington, it actually plays a bit more pitcher friendly than maybe the elements of outdoor. Is it Comerica? Is that the Tigers? Yeah, Comerica. There's a lot of stuff in there. So we're going to go to the splits tab on Fangraphs. I'm just kind of curious to see what the home away looks like for Kyle Gibson. Pretty decent sample size on both. On the road, a 2.93 ERA, which over doubles his 1.77 home ERA. And then on the road, a 2.22 average allowed, 2.9 slugging. So the other numbers aren't that crazy versus his home stuff. So maybe we look at xFIP road and home. X of 431. So it's not insane. So I'm not trying to create a narrative without sample. 0.78 homer per night. No, okay. He's usable. 9K. I would really want 20 plus on a normal day, but I think value is going to be extremely subjective today. I don't really sweat the 20 plus, the 30 plus on a slate where I think 20 plus is really good for this. I think, top 4 score on the slate from pitching could be 22. So I think if Gibson's one of those guys, even if it's a 9K 20, I'll take it. It's not like NBA. 11 games, 22 teams. There's going to be $2K, $2,500 bats at homer to kind of offset that. So Gibson's in the pool for me. But the Tigers could be extremely lefty. I got 5. But Akil Baddoo's a lefty. Robbie Grossman switchy. That's going to bat lefty. Jamer Candelario, Castro, and Zach Short. So, I'm playing Gibson. I just hope he isn't over projected ownership wise. Casey Mize, he's a guy that's kind of turned his season around. Really, really rough start to this season, and then last year didn't look great. On the season so far, he's got a 3.59 ERA, 4.29 Sierra, 5.26 expected ERA with a 1.14 WHIP. We're gonna pull up his game log on Fangraphs so we kind of paint a picture here. Result, I guess if we pull up his game log on DraftKings, that also might help paint an expedited picture. 6.6, 7.8, but there was a stretch of 20s and 18s and 20s. So looks like in the last 4 starts, there's been a couple of rough outings. White Sox, Angels, Astros, man, that's not like a walk in the park. So I do like to value strength of schedule. 6,600, chip in a chair for 20. I think that what's killing me about the Rangers is they have a lot of lefties I'm scared of, and in the middle of those lefties is Adolis Garcia, who's a really powerful righty. So I think at 6,600, like if I get to Mize, there's no way I'd get to more than 8% right now. That's kind of like an obscure number in my head. Probably no more than 8% off the top of my head at 6,600, and that's just saying that at 6,600. Couple fly ball outs, a couple strikeouts. There's a world where 15, 18 DKPs there, and that would probably be borderline glorious. So maybe it's one of those hedge spots. I'll grab a couple of, Joey Gallo's, Adolis Garcia's, and then I'll dabble with a little bit of Mize, but I never really overinvest in either. 4.1 is your implied run total for the Rangers, 4 on the Tigers. So Vegas not really giving them a lot of runs to be had, and Mize's ground ball rate is pretty doggone solid too. So I don't know. I say this now, but maybe by the end of the day, I end up having more of both of these pitchers than I want to have, or maybe by the end of this video, because we're gonna get into some more pitchers. There definitely are some more talented pitchers like Yu Darvish, but you definitely worry about their recent stretches, and then some of these guys like Kevin Gausman, you worry about the matchup. So let's keep it moving. But right now, I think the move for me is I'm not really stacking either team. So I probably, against my better judgment or against my will end up with those pitchers at a higher rate than I'd initially like. Padres at the Braves. Weird weekend for the Padres. Braves trading for Jock Peterson, which, after thinking about that move a little bit more, Braves definitely seem like they're going to be a sell team, especially after Ronald Acuna went down with that ACL injury. But Jock Peterson could be a quick flip, right? Get him now. If you make a run, cool. And if you don't, Jock Peterson's out there on the market, and there's definitely teams that could go for some Jock Peterson. As a Yankees fan, I wouldn't mind that lefty power to help fill a hole in the outfield. A lot of injuries in the Yankees outfield. 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards. They trade for Tim LeCastro. He tears an ACL on an incredible catch. Yesterday we had Lamar get a little bit banged up. Brett Gardner hit the wall pretty hard. Clint Frazier's hurt. Miguel Andujar. It's rough, right? Aaron Hicks got another week without Judge. So Jock Peterson would definitely be a fun Yankee Stadium bat. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on the Braves and to see if something flourishes from Peterson going back on the market. Yu Darvish versus Kyle Muller is our matchup. Darvish is at 90 to 100, and it becomes an intriguing play because the Braves definitely are not not that great, and they got worse without Acuna, right? If he can get around, the hit for average in Freddie Freeman, who's clearly their best hit for average guy, and kind of skirt past some of the power problems, more so in the Jock Peterson and Freeman when it comes to numbers versus righties. Darvish is definitely the guy with the most upside on the slate, and I think at 9,200, it's just a couple $100 above Kyle Gibson. There's definitely a world where I'd rather have the upside in Darvish here. But again, his recent stretch is very, very worrisome. So we're going to spend a couple minutes looking at Darvish's last few games, maybe find out why or why not, or what the problem is or has been for him to not be as dominant as he was to start the season. Not going to use the term sticky stuff, but I guess I just did. So we're going to game log on Fangraphs here. Darvish last couple games, 479 xFIP, 396, 341, 089. So I'll take a sub 4 xFIP. The BABIP is also a number we want to key in on. 500 BABIP against the Nats. That's pretty doggone high with a 6K per 9. 286 BABIP against Phillies, about what you want. 375 against the D-backs, a little high. 111, 333. Okay, so a rough stretch. Maybe All-Star break did him so good. Another number I want to look for is swinging strike rate. So we'll go to plate discipline. 12.5%, 19, 10%. So he stayed in the double digits really in every game except at Coors Field. So I do think it's not a crazy statement to maybe say Darvish, he had that injured hip and a couple tough games where he statistically on batting average on balls in play, a little bit unlucky. So maybe I can go back to the well here, and Darvish is definitely somebody I think would be one of the top 4 guys most likely to get 20 plus DKP. He hasn't played against the Braves so far this season, and I mean, how often is he going to give us that negative game? That game was on 7-8, so he didn't miss that much time. So I would imagine that 90 plus pitches is still a range of outcome for him. So I guess I'll land on some Darvish here. And really the only pushback here, I guess, would be Freddie Freeman. Darvish just has a really weird line where he's got a over 4 xFIP against lefties, but the results are just really, really in his favor. But that 48.5% fly ball rate, maybe a couple of those sneak into homers in parks that are not marine layered Petco, right? But just a 26.5% hard contact rate. So the fly ball rate's a little bit high, but I get to Darvish at 9,200 all day long, all day strong, especially against a less than full strength Braves lineup. So give me some Darvish, and I think right now, just thinking about the pitchers we talked about, he'd probably have to be listed as number 1 for me, and then I'd work my way up or down from that going forward. Kyle Muller, I don't know who this guy is, so we'll also spend some time talking about him. We've got 15.2 innings of sample size for Muller in the big league so far. So let's see what we've gotten out of him so far. We got 5.2 innings, 5 innings, last 2 games, 90 and 100 plus pitches. So it looks like he is a stretched out starter, and he has pitched for them in the minors. He pitched on July 3rd against Miami, 16 fantasy points, 7 strikeouts in 5.2 innings with 4 hits allowed, 4 walks. So the whip is pretty high, and then a bomb that's 3 earnings on top of that. So in the big league sample, he's got a really high K rate and a 16.7% swinging strike rate. So let's kind of look at the pitch report, and does he have just like a wipeout slider or something? That's pretty crazy. He's got 47% usage on the fastball so far, 29% on the slider, and a 19.9% on the curveball. So sample size is everything there. Couple games. Marlins are maybe a glorified AAA team. So let's go look at his minor league numbers. Kyle Muller for Gwinnett, and just kind of see what we might expect from him if we get a deeper sample size. So far this season overall, pitches per inning pitch is 17.62. That's interesting. All right. Splits. Regular season, all right, against lefties, 11 innings, 195 average, but a 4.91 ERA, 1 bomb, 8 hits, 17 strikeouts, and 11 innings against lefties. A 1.73 whip because of 11 walks. He has a walk per inning against lefties in the minors. 30.1 innings against righties, 27 hits, 10 walks. So 37 walks and hits in 30.1 innings. But a 237 average, 5 homers in 30 innings. This guy is all over the place. Like I almost wanted to like pull up a video of him pitching and just like look at it while we're on the air. But that's probably not a good idea. I probably shouldn't do that. So yeah, it looks like we really don't know what to expect from him. So there's a wide range of outcomes. One of those outcomes seems like it could be a ton of strikeouts. Padres, not a high strikeout team. Tommy Pham, Cronenworth, Machado, Eric Hosmer in the projected lineup all have sub 20% K rates. They'll take their walks, 10.6% walk rate. And a pitcher that will walk bases on, put ducks on the pond, that creates the potential for the big inning. And it looks like this guy has in his DNA, at least from the minors, a home run problem to righties. So yeah, fire up some Padres stacks here. Padres have an implied run total sitting right about 5. Looks like there could be some rain in the forecast, so keep an eye on that. And Muller is a lefty, and we do like Padres against lefties. And I also like the fact that they steal bases a lot, and a lefty that is as wild as him. A guy on second base might take third, and you might get some double steals out of this. And if they get him out of the game early, this Braves bullpen has been really, really below average in pretty much every category but home run per 9 plus. So Padres stack definitely in the mix for me today. Yu Darvish could be a sizable favorite by the time we close to get the win, but I will say right now they're only minus 135. So that's something to remember. Muller at 7.6. The thing, looking at these numbers, I feel like there is a percentile outcome. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it looks like there's not a 0% range of outcome for this 30% K rate at 7,600 to be like an 18 DKP that you can use. So I might have to think about if I fire him up, because the Padres that don't strike out a lot do strike out a lot, right? Or the Padres that do 26% on Tatis, 28% on Grisham, 28.7% on Will Myers, 27% on Victor Caratini, and then the pitcher spot. So it's a little bit of mixed bag of nuts here. This is so weird. So maybe I wouldn't have 0 Muller. That's so weird. Maybe I don't have 0, but I will have some Padres stacks. I will have some Darvish, and if I don't think I stack Braves today, but I will get into one-offing Jock Peterson, Freddie Freeman, maybe a little Albie, something like that. But we're not going to get carried away with it. Just let the optimizer throw them in where they want to, and then we'll move on from that. Next game on the docket: Indians at the Astros. Carlos Mejia, JC Mejia taking on Zach Greinke. Indians have an implied run total of just 3.7 runs. Astros sitting at 5.4. Astros have had a weird stretch of games this side of the All-Star break. Lucas Giolito kind of picked up where Garrett Cole left off. We'll see if they get right going forward. Greinke is 8,800. He has not been a strikeout guy, but from a real-life pitcher standpoint, he's been somewhat effective, and it's just kind of annoying because his end result ends up being pretty irrelevant more often than not for fantasy, right? If you don't get that ceiling of maybe 30, you really can't do much with it more than you can. I mean, look at this game against Cleveland last time. 7.2 innings, 23.7 DKP. He did get over a strikeout per inning in that game, but I feel like that was a little bit more of an outlier than not. So maybe I'll double check that game, see if there was one of those called strike games where he was paint corners. So give me just a second to look at that. But what I'm kind of building up to is I think on this slate, there's a world where I get to Greinke more than I want to. If I let Vegas sell me on 3.7 implied run total for the Indians, and the fact that Greinke is under 9K in a world where 20 DKP could be a top scorer today, I'm not against it. Against the Indians, he had a 13% swinging strike rate that game, which was one of his, it looks like his second highest game of the season. So it does feel a little outlierish. And then outside the zone swing, 38.7%, and he curtain called that with 16%. So even the swing, the chase rate was pretty high. So maybe we chalk that up as to being more of an outlier. But I don't think I have. I think I get to a little bit of Greinke, but I don't love it. Like, it would be less than 10% for sure. But I'd be my expectation would be more of a eat 6 innings, 7 innings maybe, if you're pitching to contact, and then maybe scoop the win, and maybe the quality starts. So maybe it's more of a Fanduel play, but if I can get to 4 strikeouts, 6 innings, a win, it might not be the end of the world. JC Mejia has done pretty well against righties so far, but really bad against lefties. Extreme split problem going on right now. 216 home run per 9. 2 lefties, 314 average allowed, striking out less than 17%. So big spot for Yordan Alvarez. He's probably their biggest power bat. So I say this with all the power bats that have high strikeout rates. If you can neutralize the strikeout rates and tap into the upside here, there's a spot where that 27% K rate could be chopped in half or even more so, and Alvarez could pop here. And then just in general, Mejia's sample size is not deep enough, and the Astros are a solid, good team. So I don't hate the Astros here. 5.4 implied run total. It's one of the highest on the slates. I think it might be second right now behind the Blue Jays. It looks like it's second behind the Blue Jays right now. So we'll see if that throttles up or down after some more money lays in the books, and then they start adjusting a little bit more. Indians bullpen, more contact than not, doesn't throw as much strikes as many other bullpens. If I wanted to pick on Greinke, there's definitely a lean towards power righties. Just a 18.8% carry to righties, 270 average allowed, and a 1.5 home run per 9 dating back to the beginning of last season. That's pretty consistent. So Franmil Reyes might project well, Ahmed Rosario, but really Franmil Reyes is the guy that's standing out. 279 overall ISO against righties in the last 2 years, with the 30% K rate. So much like Alvarez, if I can cut that in half, and I think we can in this case, Reyes could be a pretty solid option to kind of predict some power. But the rest of this lineup is so bad. I mean, it's a who's who of who's that. I mean, who is Harold Ramirez, Bradley Zimmer, Roberto Perez? I guess we know Perez, Daniel Johnson. So I guess there's a world where I like Greinke more than I really ever thought I could on any type of slate. But I also think Franmil Reyes is the guy that he has to worry about. So give me a little bit of Greinke, give me a little bit of Franmil Reyes in it. I would never tell anyone not to play Jose Ramirez, but 5,500, that's a tall glass of water on a slate where 5,500 is about the price range for, or 5,500 and above is about the Dodgers, Vladdy Jr.'s, Tatis, Machado, Peter Alonso I like quite a bit. So it is saying a lot to put that 5,500 in a J-Ram on a team implied for 3.7 runs, and not kind of grabbing one of the other guys that are in better spots just outright. Because as much as Greinke's a contact guy against both sides of the plate, he's not allowing lefties to really do much of anything. Just a 23.6% hard contact rate, 47% ground ball rate, keeping the ball in the park and holding him to a 200 average. I gotta lean towards the numbers. The numbers are saying 5,500 for J-Ram is not really the optimal pre-flop, so I'm not gonna get there. Give me some Greinke. I'm not gonna play any Mejia. Moving on to the next game. Alec Mills taking the bump for the Cubs up against the Cardinals. Jake Woodford. Mills, of course, a known contact guy. Does have a no-hitter to his name. Woodford is somebody I'm not too familiar with, so we might spend a little bit more time looking at him. But I mean, just looking at the sample size that we have, sub 9% swing and strike rate since the beginning of last year, sub 19% K rate since the beginning of last year, expected ERA well over 5.4. So it looks like both pitchers just not good. Cubs implied run total 4.6, Cardinals 4.5, and Woodford in his sample size so far is really slumped against lefties. So 318 home run per 9. I do want to know if the sample size is a little bit misleading on that. So I guess I'll go to the bomb detector to kind of answer this question real quick, because we do have a column in the bomb detector that it's listed as P sample, and it's not for drug tests. It's actually the amount of sample size the pitcher has against that handedness hitter, and it's 21.2 innings. So there's actually some sample there. Interesting. The reason why that's interesting to me is a 318 home run per 9 is usually not the result of a 42% ground ball rate and sub 37% hard contact rate. Maybe the line drive rate's getting them there. Anyway, it looks like both pitchers are completely out of play for me today. No strikeout upside here. I don't think this is where I want to get. Woodford would probably double check to see Woodford's potential pitch count today. Looks like he went 29, so he might be just a glorified opener, get 2 innings, and then move into that bullpen. Let me see if the blurb suggested anybody coming out of the bullpen. Carlos Mike Schultz said Woodford will be called up from AAA Memphis to start Monday's game against the Cubs. Katie Booth, the athletic pro, stepped with the rotation for second grade, blah, 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 blah. And that last was on 6/27. So it says Woodford, 24-year-old, has turned into a mediocre results while working, blah, blah, blah. Covered 10 innings with 2 innings. So it looks like he could be stretched out. He covered 10 innings within 2 innings while allowing only 3 runs on 7 hits, 5 walks. Woodford should be in store for a 2-week start. The second turn likely coming in Saturday. All right, so let's go back to MLB.com. Sorry for mumbling that, but just trying to get fat. I don't like to spend this much time on Jake Woodford, but I also don't like to leave stones unturned. So pulling up his minor league numbers, we're just going to key in on splits real quick just to see if they're consistent with the splits that we have in his major league sample size so far. So against lefties in the minors, 200 average, just 5.2 innings. There's not any sample there. 296 to righties. The power numbers, 1 homer to righties. So a lot of hits allowed, less than a strikeout per inning to both sides of the plate. Yeah, there's no reason for me to get to him even at 4,800. And the same with Alec Mills. He might ground ball you to death, and that might suppress some of these offenses here. But I don't know if we're going to turn in a ceiling score. So I'm out on pitchers, and I think if I'm playing bats here, it's going to be more of a cherry pick situation, right? Just betting on the talent of an Anthony Rizzo or taking advantage of a leadoff catcher if Wilson Contreras is leading off, something like that. And then maybe like a Javi Baez, right? You get in a contact pitcher, you neutralize that 32% K rate, tap into that 200 plus ISO. Maybe he gets into 1. So I don't mind like that, but I don't think I end up full stacking this Busch Stadium game. It is a park that's really hard to enjoy power. A 0.89 on that 100 plus rating when it comes to home runs per park. So it's 11 points below league average when it comes to power, and it's not really a Cubs team that I'm running to for power. So I'd just be cherry picking here, and I'm just, if 11 game slate, X this one out. If I don't have any of it, I'm not going to lose sleep. I definitely don't need to get to either pitcher. Pirates at the D-backs next game on the docket. Chase DeYoung taking on Caleb Smith, my classmate. 6,600 on Caleb. Oh, Caleb. Another spot where pitchers just look like they're not going to be that much of a priority. I do think at 6,600, much like the Braves pitcher, there's a world where strikeouts live in Caleb's game. 26% K rate on the season. He's lived at 25+% K rate the last 3 years. The swing and strike rates definitely dipped this year, and the Pirates not necessarily a strikeout team, but they're at 6,600. I feel like there is at least a range of outcome. I put some money on that, and he turns into a not horrendous fantasy production at 66. So Pirates are going to be traveling to Arizona. a little bit more altitude than they're used to, but I think the roof's going to be closed more than likely at this, July. Yeah, more than likely the roof at least starts closed, and then we move from there. If I wanted to pick on Caleb, he does allow some power to righties, a 166 home run per nine, 52.2% fly ball rate. He'll also walk you. So maybe Ke'Bryan Hayes can tap into that. He doesn't strike out much, and he has a ridiculous OPS, over 1,000 OPS against lefties in his small sample size so far. So I don't hate that, but outside of that, I'm not running to stack the Pirates. So I actually probably do get to more Caleb than maybe the math suggests I should. Maybe it's a little bias for the old Huntsville Hornet connection, but give me a little of them. I'll ignore the 5-1-2 xFIP to an extent, but it's more so the price point and the implied weak offense. The Pirates as a team, just an 83 WRC plus against lefties. So I don't mind gambling on 6,600. Almost a couple hundred more than some of the bats I want today. If you can give me home run points, I'll take it. And that's all I got to say about that. At home, he's averaging 8.7 DKP. That's tough. But you see the ranges of outcomes, right? Last 5 games, there's an 18, 18, and 20. I'd take every one of those at 6,600. So I can't have 0. I will have 0 Chase the Young more than likely. 508 xFIP against righties, 571 xFIP against lefties, high average, lots of power allowed, and this is the guy that plays games in PNC Park. Chase Field, not really. It actually plays way more pitcher friendly. The home runs on average versus the rest of the league has been extremely suppressed since the humidor was installed, and especially when the roof is closed. But there's still power to be had. But unlike Caleb Smith, there's no real strikeout ceiling that I feel like there's a range of outcomes that I want to tap into. So I don't get to Chase the Young here. If I want to pick on him, I just cherry pick the power guys. I don't mind. Cole Calhoun's a fun play. He's min price on DraftKings. I've been getting a lot of Cole Calhoun since he's returned because he has been bare bones min. But a 252 ISO against righties last 2 years. Sample size is a lot smaller because he did miss all of this year, and last year was just a 60-game sprint. But the matchup suggests that it's a positive one. And then Eduardo Escobar, 3K on Fanduel. I like that price point more than the 5,200 point on DraftKings. So those might be 2 names I lean on a little bit. And we haven't seen the power from Christian Walker, but I know it exists. So he's another guy, if we can neutralize the strikeouts, maybe taps into that. But I'm not going to fall into stacking either team. With that said, D-backs do have an implied run total of 5, and the Pirates are not great. Pirates bullpen looks like they walk a lot. The numbers plus from the bullpen are actually pretty solid, but that might be a little bit more park induced because of PNC. But with the roof closed, they can be park induced here. Angels at the Athletics. Next game on the docket, the poster boy Shohei Ohtani, 8.7K, taking on Cole Irvin. The Ohtani days for DFS, you guys know they get a little wonky because we can't play his bat. We can only play his arm. And when you want to stack the Angels, if it doesn't have Trout, and if it doesn't have Ohtani, and if it doesn't have Anthony Rendon, it's basically Jared Walsh, and at that point you can't stack. So Ohtani's bat being removed from the optimizers is it is what it is. But do we want to pitch Ohtani today? Well, what has he got going for him? The Athletics do offer a pretty spacious pitcher-friendly park. It's going to be one of the coolest temperature games on the slate. Might actually be the coolest temperature game on the slate. So 61 degrees out there, spacious Oakland Coliseum. Yeah, 8,700. I think because of the name, because of the spot, I don't think he'll be low owned by any stretch of the imagination. And he'll be looking to get right post the All-Star break. 37% K rate so far to righties this season, 26% to lefties. Athletics come out a little bit more righty than lefty. Not staggering strikeout numbers, but still, 23.2% on the season. If you can push that to 1 and 4, I'll take it. Why not? 8,700. Can I get the win? Well, you can't hold your breath on that when it comes to the Angels. This game looks more like a pick 'em right now. Angels 4.3, 4.3 implied run total, 4.2 on the Athletics. But is there a world where Ohtani's a top 4 scoring pitcher? Yeah, I think if I had to pick names instantly, Ohtani, Yu Darvish, guys like that kind of stick out. So it's a little harder to get to Ohtani's game log on DraftKings because he is a dual position player, or a two-way player rather. So let's go pull up his game log on Fangraphs and maybe kind of scout that a little bit more. So I guess first we'll look at the standard. That'll show us XFIP. No. Does Fangraphs have the same issue? Fangraphs, late discipline. Are they going to add? No, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. It's not it. Dang it. Fangraphs has the same problem. They not... Oh, I guess dead air is bad air. I guess we're not going to focus on it here. But Ohtani as a pitcher, the expected ERA really good. The WHIP's low enough. The K percentage is really good. So we're going to have Ohtani. I think Ohtani's probably going to be I would say top 2 owned on this slate. Just thinking about the matchup, thinking about the park, thinking about the fact that it's Ohtani's under 9K on DraftKings. So do with that as you may. I think he's a fine play. Cole Irvin, on the other hand, 4.8 xFIP to righties, 4.13 to lefties, just a 9.7% swing and strike rate, and under 18% total strikeout rate, and a high line drive rate. And it has been that way for a while. 27.2% line drive rate to lefties, 25% last year, 30% the year prior. Last year, just 3.2 innings of sample size, so we'll kind of not look at that, but it is consistent with what he did in 2019 and what he's doing this year. And then against righties, 31.8% in 2019, and so far this year, 23%, a little higher than you would want it. The hard contact, not as high, however, but line drive rates kind of equate to hits more than fly balls and ground balls do. So something to watch there. Is throwing strikes. He's not walking people. So if you want to tap into some guys that might take advantage of a contact guy that allows line drives, it would be a spot for David Fletcher to start a new on-base streak. Fletcher, not usually a guy that can give you a ton of upside if it doesn't involve multi-hit games and a stolen base here or there. But at 3,100 on FanDuel, I mean, he'll fill a need, especially on a late slate, 3-game slate, something like that. So I don't mind looking his way. And then Jared Walsh at 3,500 on FanDuel. I don't think that's the worst play here because we have seen some power allowed from Cole Irvin against lefties so far this year, over a 1 home run per 9 in that line drive rate. And then if we can get into that bullpen, sure. But I won't really spend too much time on bats here because if I end up with no bats from this game, it's fine. It's a 60-degree game in Oakland Coliseum. Hopefully they don't have a football game, and we'll be all right. Taylor Ward's had some fun games lately. Jose Iglesias, you remember him from his Orioles days, extremely high batting average against lefties since then. And Phil Gosselin also $100 above min price on both sides, high average against lefties. So I only mention these guys as stocking stuffers against a guy that will offer an elevated line drive rate. If you really need to glue together, some Vladdy Jr. lineups or something like that, maybe a Gosselin at 100 above min, or a Cole Calhoun or somebody like that. They have plus enough matchups to get you where you need to go. We got one game left on the docket. Before we do that, take a pause for the cause. Let you guys know if you want access to this spreadsheet anytime you want. It is a perk of having a subscription at rundfs.com. Go to rundfs.com, make yourself an account, get signed up. Week pass just $20. Get the spreadsheet every day. I do take Sundays off. I gotta have one day off. But you'll also catch me sitting in the pre-lock voice chat in the official rundfs.com VIP Discord. The only time I'm not there is if I have to do a stream for Osmo, or if I have a previous engagement, but I'll also always be pretty transparent about that. So if you ever want to chop it up, I do hang out in the Discord all the time. And then, man, another way to support me, if you don't want to open up the wallet and join rundfs.com, but you do want to have some fun, make some skill-based wagers, prize picks. Everyone has a code these days. Everyone. So for some reason, if you haven't signed up yet and you want to show me some love, give me some of that sweet kickback that they give me, go to prizepicks.com, sign up using code GUNDACKER, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your first deposit, up to $100. So if you want to throw $30 on there, that turns into 60. It's instant. It's not slow drip, but you'll see it right away. And hopefully you make some money. And like I said, if you are a subscriber and you maybe want to play around for baseball, you've just been here for football or basketball, we did add the K Factory to the spreadsheet. So in your head, what this K Factory will do is if you got a pitch projection for a pitcher, for instance, today, let's say, I don't know, let's say Vladimir Gutierrez. Let's say I think he can throw 80 pitches today. That puts him at a strikeout projection of 5.11. So if I went to PrizePicks and he had a strikeout projection of like 6.5, well, then I'd go take the under. That's how that works, right? Main event tonight. The Dodgers hosting the Giants. Kevin Gausman taking on Tony Gonsolin. Hiccup, 3.8 is our implied run total for the Giants. The Dodgers are at 4.3. A low-scoring game, 83 degrees. I think this is a weird spot, right? This is where comfort meets talent meets. I don't like Kevin Gausman's matchup, but I don't like the Dodgers matchup. I don't want to play Gausman because it's the Dodgers. I don't want to play Dodgers because it's Gausman. Well, something might give here. So I would say make a decision. I don't think you have to take an extreme stand, meaning I don't think it has to be one or the other. If you are 50 to 100 to 150 lineups, you can play both sides, right? You'll have enough equity to do so because you might get lower ownerships on both sides. The Dodgers, they're up there in price, 5,700 for Mookie Betts, 6,100. Like they still have Coors Field pricing for for many of their lineup. It looks like they might also get Cody Bellinger in the lineups today, so look out for that. But, I mean, look at these price points. And then you think about some of the other teams that are on the slate today that also have high price points and are in perceptually better matchups. The Boston Red Sox, looking at their top guys, Rafael Devers, 58, Bogarts, 54. Against them, the Blue Jays, Vladdy, Semien, Bo Bichette, all above 5K. We talked about the New York Metropolitans, Pete Alonso, almost 6K. Like, there's plenty of teams that are expensive that are perceptually in a better spot and mathematically in a better spot than the Dodgers, and because of that might suppress their ownership. And then, like I said, people don't want to pitch against the Dodgers, so I'm going to have a little bit of both because I do think there is merit in the Dodgers upside as a team, as a stack, and there's merit in Kevin Gausman as a good pitcher. 30.2% K rate against righties, 30.8% against lefties. The xFIP is fine, 3.3 to both sides of the plate. Maybe on the road that's risen a little bit, 3.65, but it's still fine, and he keeps the ball in the park. So there's if we take emotions out of it, right, and we just let the robots, the math, do the talking, I think Gausman at 10K would be somebody that makes the player pool for me if I feel comfortable with his pitch count. On 7-11, when he got his slurper, he went 6 innings, 102 pitches, and we've seen pretty much 90 to 100 pitches the last month or so. He was on FMLA. Did he have a baby? Are we about to get a baby game? I don't want to speculate, but he was on Family Medical Emergency List. So I don't know. With that said, he wasn't out for an injury. He was just out for personal reasons, so we shouldn't have to worry about him being stretched out or not. It should be good to go. So give me a little bit of Gausman. And then if I want to pick on Gausman, there's really not any hardcore leagues that I can maybe project or expect. It'd just be more so betting on the Dodgers, right? Mookie Betts, good at baseball. Justin Turner, Max Muncy. Bellinger hasn't been as solid this year. We kind of expect him to get right. So that's how I'm going to play this one. The question mark here, I think, is the Giants. What do we do with the Giants because of Tony Gonsolin taking the bump for them? Gonsolin's been pretty rock solid for the Dodgers as a pitcher, but he doesn't go deep. 83 pitches, 72 pitches his last 2 outings, but he is progressively inclined in his last 3 starts. Could this be an 80-plus pitch spot, and is 80 pitches enough at 8,200 to want to be invested against a Giants team that many guys strike out 1 and 5, a couple strike out 1 and 4, almost 1 and 3. So I probably don't get the Gonsolin, especially considering that his xFIP to lefties is pretty alarming, 5.14 xFIP versus his results numbers, and the walk rate's pretty high. But it is, I guess, a thought that you'll have to make if you're playing the late slate here. Late slate pitching is definitely probably Caleb Smith and Ohtani, right? Everything else just feels rough. That's our slate. 11 games today. Hopefully we've navigated enough just to kind of recall, I think, in my head. Pitching wise, I'm going to jot down Darvish. We're going to drop down Ohtani. We're going to have a little bit of Caleb Smith. We're going to have some Zach Greinke. I guess a little bit of Kyle Gibson and Casey Mize, but not a ton. Maybe a little Yarbrough. So I'm going to be pretty diverse in my pitching pool today. And I'm usually somebody that keeps pitching really, really tight. Like, sometimes I'll have 5 or less, but I think today I could see myself really expanding. And then also to push back on that first game, Marlins, I think, are in a fun spot against a guy that allows a lot of contact, a lot of high average, a lot of power, and stolen bases. And the Marlins, maybe not feeling like an extreme discount on DraftKings, but compared to the 5 to 6K guys on the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Mets, there might be some value here. So I think it's going to be a fun slate. Hopefully, knock on wood, it doesn't become a weather nightmare, and we can make some money here, man. If you guys have enjoyed this video, help me out. Hit that thumbs up. If you want more, leave a comment. Like I said, the low views on baseball is kind of the reason why we don't pump it out as much as I would like to. But the schedule's opening up. NBA is coming to an end, and I'm not needed in other spots as much as I was. So maybe there's some more opportunities to pump out some new videos as we hit the dog days, the second half of the dog days of summer with football about a month and a half away, right? Twitter.com/GundackerSports. If you guys are on Twitter, let's tweet. Let's twat. I don't know. Get at me. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.